Right, grade 7. So this week we're just starting to round off and tie everything together with population and control. Right, we're looking at the last few headings or subheadings now with regards to improved healthcare and immunization and how this has impacted the population growth and then led to more population growth. All right, so in today's video, I'm just going to be going through this with you. I just want you to listen. You don't necessarily have to have your textbooks out, but if you'd like to, it's page number 95. You can follow along with me. And we're just going to discuss improved healthcare and immunization and how this has led to a growth in the population. So it says here on the bottom of page number 95, it says, when the government does things to improve the health of people, we call it public health. Right? Public health care is paid for by the Department of Health, which gets its money from taxes. In South Africa, they provide the following. So when we talk about public health, please note that these are state-owned facilities. When they say that it's the money coming from taxes, this is money that your parents, as well as anybody that's working, will pay tax on their salary. This is where the government needs to use this money or a portion of this money, because they budget it in order to build certain facilities. And these facilities include state hospitals and clinics, all right, free medicine and treatment for pregnant mothers and children under the age of 5 years, medicines and treatment for adults at a very low cost, safe water supply and sanitation organized by local government, and free immunization for babies and children. Okay, so why would we need this? Remember, not everyone can afford a private hospital, so therefore the state needs to supply this and aid the public and give them this service. So by the public being able to access this, they're able to obviously live longer and treat certain illnesses and diseases, especially with regards to babies, because remember we spoke about infant mortality and that being also one of the big contributing factors to population growth. Right, so if the young infants are surviving past the age of 1, they're more likely going to go on to live into adulthood. So pretty much with us offering those services in the form of free state hospitals and clinics and medicine and treatment, and as well as free immunization for babies and children, we do now increase the population by keeping our population healthy, right, and free from disease. It says here that the government is improving healthcare in HIV positive South Africans. The clinics and hospitals offer free HIV testing, right, free antiretrovirals. This is medicine to help fight the HIV virus. So one, it's important that people get tested. You could have HIV and not necessarily know it until it's too late. So there's a difference between HIV and then full-blown AIDS. Okay, so HIV is when the virus is laying more dormant in your body and it's slowly starting to attack the white blood cells. When you have AIDS, it's pretty much past the point of where you've lost a lot of your cell count and therefore you're no longer able to fight off infection. So the sooner you test and find out that you may have got HIV, they're able to offer you antiretrovirals and therefore control the disease. And in order with controlling the disease, you're able to live a lot longer. So again, it ties into life expectancy. How long are you expected to live? And if you're able to live longer, you're most likely going to start a family in the case of infant mortality, and therefore you would increase the population. On page number 96, it talks about immunization. Right, and immunization, a lot of you probably have that mark on your arm where you were injected as a baby, and that's because you received the vaccination and you were immunized against certain diseases. So on page number 96, it says that immunization is a way in which you can be protected from disease by using vaccines. Right, it says Pasteur discovered that if you injected a person with a weak dose of germs that caused a certain disease, that the person would not catch the disease if they were later infected with fresh germs. The biggest thing is just getting your white blood cells to recognize the virus or the disease. So what Pasteur realized is, and they started with smallpox and all these types of things, they would take a small amount of the germ, put it into your body until your white blood cells are able to recognize the germ or the disease, and it would fight it off. So later on, if you were to catch the disease, your white blood cells already recognized it as a foreign body, and therefore they would start to fight it off so that you did not get infected with the germs when they were fresh germs. All right, it says the doses of germs are called vaccines. It says immunization has led to a huge decrease in many fatal diseases. Right, immunization is one of the greatest medical achievements in human history and has saved millions of lives in the 20th and 21st centuries. Right, it is one of the main reasons for the fall in infant mortality because many serious childhood diseases are now preventable by using vaccines. Right, and majority of us, I think 99% of us in class have all been vaccinated when we were kids, right, and babies. And you carry on all the way through up until about 6 years, I think it is, that you have to be vaccinated. And then if there's any new diseases that come out and there's a vaccine, then you could choose to get vaccinated against that in order to prevent yourself from getting the disease. Right, so since the introduction of vaccines, rates of diseases such as polio, measles, hepatitis B, rubella, diphtheria, whooping cough, and meningitis have declined by 90%. Right, so if it's declined by 90%, that means 90% of this population has now survived because they have been vaccinated. It says smallpox was the first infectious disease to disappear throughout the world because of immunization in 1980. It says the World Health Organization set a goal to rid the world of polio by 2005. In South Africa, the last polio case was in 1989. It says vaccines are free at public and local clinics and the community healthcare centers in South Africa, as well as immunization is one of the ways the government is improving healthcare, and the government of South Africa the government of South Africa spends more than 80 million per year on vaccines. So it's important to make this available and accessible. All right, so by making it available, you literally are able to get vaccinated against the disease, and therefore you will not receive the disease. If we had to make people pay for this, remember we spoke about social economic status, that means the poorest of the communities would not be able to afford to get vaccinated, and therefore they would be susceptible to these types of diseases and they would pass away from them. All right. The last thing being contraceptive. So contraceptive as a population control method. Again, you're restricting the size of the population by using contraceptives. So contraceptive is basically preventative measures that women will not fall pregnant with more children, all right, and therefore you restrict the population size. All right, great. So that's just the last two topics of population growth and control. Then we'll move on to the revision activity. This will only be next week to test your knowledge. I don't need you to stress about geography for this week. There is no formal activity or assessment for geography. It's just to know what these two headings are and how they have contributed. So just to tie it in again, we have improved the healthcare system, and by having the improved healthcare system and able to access certain things like hospitals and clinics, and it also comes down to the increase in scientific research. So doctors have become a lot better. They know a lot more now than what they did, say, 20 or 30 years ago. So they're able to treat more diseases and illnesses, and they're able to operate on people with regards to whatever it may be. If you have a burst appendix, etc., they're able to operate on you. So therefore, with this improved healthcare system, we have improved the survival rate, and by improving the survival rate, you're obviously going to have an increase in population growth. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, but we will still be doing revision. We'll tie everything in at the end of the year. We are moving along quite swiftly. As you can see, we're already done with this unit. So next week is just a bit of revision. You'll be writing your cycle for me soon. Once you've written your cycle test, we are going to then move on to term 4's work. And that gives us a bit of a cushion to revise near the end of the year. Okay, grade 7, so you're doing well. You just keep it up for me, please. And then, as I said, don't stress, there is no formal activity for geography this week.